Welcome to the Glow Up Girl podcast, the show where purpose meets inspiration. Each week, I sit down with incredible individuals who open up about their real life journeys, the wins, the setbacks, and the lessons in between. Whether you're navigating career moves, entrepreneurship, or personal growth, you're in the right place. I'm Kyra Mitchell Lewis, your host, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's go out together. Hope everyone is doing well. I hope you are having a fantastic week. I am so excited to be joined today by my guest, Becky Lukovic. We're going to be talking about all things travel, all things women traveling. So if you are someone who has been thinking about, like, I want to travel, but I don't have anybody to travel with. I know that happens to be a problem a lot of times. I know a lot of people who are solo traveling, which I think is amazing. But Becky offers a service in which she provides women with group travel. So it's really an opportunity to meet with other like-minded women who are looking for travel partners. Or if you want to do solo travel, her company assists with that as well. So let's go ahead and dive in with Becky. All right, let's welcome Becky to the Glow Girl podcast. Welcome.
Oh, thanks. How are you?
I am fantastic. It's Wednesday. We're plugging along in the week.
I love that. I love that.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad you're here and talking about a topic that I don't think we talk enough about is like just travel, especially for women, and opening up like ourselves to different cultures and seeing new things and doing new things. And so I'm excited to jump in with you. But why don't we get started first by having you tell our audience listening or watching who you are and what you do?
Perfect. Thanks, Kara. So I'm Becky Lukovic. I own Bella Travel Planning, or as it's on Insta and Facebook, My Bella Travel. I've been around in this industry for 23 plus years. I love the travel industry. I love everything about it. And so I'm in the luxury space. So I get to craft some really cool, adventuresome, culturally relevant itineraries for my travelers. So yeah, so it's a great industry to be in. I live in Atlanta, and my people are all over the country.
Awesome. I love that. All right. So, why don't we start off by talking about just the experience of exploring diverse cultures. What do you think that fosters? How does that foster growth, especially in women?
Yeah, I think we get in such a hustle and grind vibe in our lives, and we're going, and we're 90 miles an hour, and reminding ourselves, like, let's take a minute, let's take some self-care and all that. And what travel does is it gets us out of our bubble. It gets us out of our routine, the things that we normally do, what we have for breakfast, what our schedule is. And I think when you do that, then you have an opportunity to kind of sit back and go, "Oh, okay, so what's happening here?" How when you're interacting with cultures, it's like, well, how do they do things? I mean, something as simple as how they breakfast. In Italy, I call it dessert for breakfast. You may just walk up to the coffee bar and down an espresso and maybe have a piece of what looks like dessert or whatever, and then you're off. And in some cultures, you're gonna sit down and have a bigger breakfast, or the same with meal times. And the rhythm is different. And when you get in that different rhythm, sometimes you go, wow, why can't I do this in my own life? Why can't I take 2 hours every single afternoon and just hang with my friends and exhale? For us, a 2-hour lunch is like a big deal. It's like an SOS, or like oh, I'm taking the day off, so we're having 2-hour girlfriend lunch. I mean, in France, it's Thursday. I mean, it's just done, or Italy, or
Mhm.
wherever. And also, I think you also see how other women do their lives. You see how they engage in their communities, how they have community, how they express joy. I remember being in Uganda, and at this place called Ride for a Woman, and they dance it out. they're having a bad day, and I'm, like, bawling, and I'm dancing, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I need more dancing it out in my life." And I just think travel just gives you really good ideas of how you can take that and incorporate it in your life.
Mhm. Oh, I love that, Becky, because I can say for myself, I'm so guilty of that. When you said, "Oh, we're gonna go have a two-hour lunch," like I always like whenever I'm gonna have lunch with my friends, it's like, oh, it's always a day where I'm like, oh, I'm taking a half day. So
Yep.
then we can go and we can stay at lunch longer. And it's just like you have to plan for we have to plan for that. And it's like you said, it's like we are taking time off. But I love the just the opportunity for people to like do life differently,
Mhm.
to see how other people are living, to sort of, I mean, what you were explaining in some sense to me also felt like joy. Like if you're saying like you're walking up, you're in Italy, you're walking up for breakfast, and it's like, oh yeah, well we are gonna have this for breakfast today, and it's like because we do get in our routines and we're so like regimented and structured, and like it has to be this way and this thing and everybody out there listening, watching, like, I am just talking about myself. I'm not saying but my, my mornings are very structured. Like I have it's a process, I have a schedule, like of things that I do. So I think like you're right. When you do make that time for like vacation or travel, like it does open you up to like do things differently. And then you're like, wow, like the world didn't crumble because I didn't eat, like, a kind bar at 9:30 and I had something
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure, and you get to experience a different way to live, and
Mhm.
sometimes you're not gonna absorb that and take it in your life, and that's okay too, and then
Yeah.
sometimes, like I said, it gives you good ideas. It's like,
Yeah.
"I want more of this in my life."
Yes, and at least you've opened your mind to it. So, I mean, and maybe coming back from another country and coming back if you live I'm just speaking if you live in the US, and if you go somewhere and you come back, it just gives you a way maybe there are small ways you can, implement that into your daily life. So, like, maybe, yeah, it doesn't have to be the whole thing, but maybe some parts of it
Yeah. Yeah.
what I was also hearing too, it's like when you said like you were, I think in Uganda and they were like dancing it out, also just felt like a way self-care, like a different means of like caring for ourselves. And my gosh, yes, like if we adopted something like that to just dance it out, like take a break. Like I like to take dance breaks as I tell the people that I work with. I'm like, all right, I'll be back. And you take like 5, 10 minute dance.
I love that.
Quick dance break over here, just kind of like, shake some stuff out. So how did you find your like passion for building? Because you're building community, you're helping people to experience new things. But how did you find your passion for community? And how do shared experiences you think cultivate that community?
Sure. I was in my probably mid-30s. At that point in your life, you get in that point in your life where making friends isn't as easy and right in front of you as it is when you're in
Mhm.
school and all that, and so I just had that moment where I was seeing my circle get smaller, my kids were getting a little bit older, and then I was going through a divorce, and I just thought, "Becky, you need to be really intentional about creating community." And I was never, I had my kids and then my then husband, and basically we were kind of each other's everything, and my circle just kept getting smaller. I had lots of acquaintances, but I
Mhm.
didn't really have that authentic community
Mhm.
that I craved, and that thing where, like, if you don't show up to something, somebody's calling you and going, "Hey, where you at? What you doing? What's up?"
Mhm.
You know?
Mhm.
And so I sought out to build this community of women around me, and I had never really had that. I mean, I had it in high school, some
Mhm.
of it. I never really, as an adult, had that intentional pouring into each other kind of
Mhm.
friendship. And, shared experiences goes into that because
Yeah.
when you and I think that's why people you work with, you volunteer with, you do
Mhm.
life together with, that brings you together because you have a story to
Mhm.
tell with each other and something to talk about and reminisce about, and experiences will bond you, and I found starting my Ciao Bella Travel Club for women, I'm finding that these shared travel experiences are bringing these women together who never even knew each other, and then
Mhm.
suddenly we're at Miraval and they're crying, we're crying, we're sharing stories about things that we've done that really pushed us out of our comfort zone, and everybody's sharing, and then all of a sudden that bond
Mhm.
starts to grow. So I think there's something about experiences that
Mhm.
pushes you together and
Right.
cements some things together.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I thank you for sharing that because I think what is true is one thing that you said as far as like, yes, when you're younger, you tend to have these large friend groups. And I think even in your like 20s, you tend to have like probably 20s, early 30s, you tend to have like these very larger, friend groups. And I find that they like, you kind of transition the types, right? So like I remember for me, like of course, there's a group, we go through school with, high school, college, and then when you start to like live your lives and you start to get job, you start working, and then you do, like you said, it is a shared experience. And I think like I found a lot of people who are my friends today, that were from jobs. They
Mhm.
were from, like, offices, and, but at the same time, I think something that you hit on that's really important is being intentional. It's like finding, intention in the relationships that you have, but something that I would like to talk about, we talk about here a lot, is that also too, like, it's okay when friendships, like, sort of fall off. And I think a lot of times for women, it's so hard because it's like, well, somebody had to have done something to someone. And it's like, no, like sometimes people just are at different stages and phases of their life. Like you mentioned, your kids getting older. So then, of course, that maybe means like those people that you were maybe closer with who you have the experience of like children growing up together. Maybe that time, like that season closed. And then you
Yeah.
went into a new season of life. And I think like for women, I just think it's important that we don't beat ourselves up because we aren't friends with somebody anymore or that chapter closed. I mean, like, because I have a lot of people who I was friends with. I mean, they're still cool. Like, I still wish nothing but the best for them. But we just sort of like we grew and went in different directions. And they're thriving and I want them to thrive and live great lives and I want to thrive. And then new people, I mean, I think sometimes it opens it up for like new experiences that you are going to encounter and have. Like there are new people that are placed there to be like, and then there are some people who are just going to be rock solid, like maybe throughout your whole life. Those people are just going to be your friends no matter. Because I have a friend that like I met, probably in my first job, like many, many years ago. And we don't talk every day. We don't see each other every day, but when we do talk, it's like we were just talking yesterday. And
Yeah.
we just have this like connection that it's like no matter when we pick up, like it just falls right back into place and it just feels so natural. And to me, that is like a friend, like an authentic friend
Mhm.
because we don't have to work, like, we don't have to come back together and be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Like, there's never like "Oh, I'm so sorry I didn't have time to chat you," or "Well, we didn't text, da, da, da." Like, it's just cool because we're sort of like these kindred souls that just feel like whenever we do get together, like, "Girl," we just pick up and keep going and keep going.
Yeah, and Kyra, what I really learned this last year is it's relationships are kind of like circles, so you
Mhm,
have your small circle and bigger circle and bigger circle,
mhm,
and the thing is, it's people transition between them all, and
mhm,
so depending on your season, and there's no and so for a while, it's like, that just feels wrong because, I had people who were in that smaller circle, and then they just kinda went out. But, they don't get a text notification going, "Hey, you are now on level 6, you were on level 2," and vice versa. Like, there's not
right,
like a ding, 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 you made it to
mhm,
level 1 friend, whoop, whoop. And so but sometimes people And the thing is, because it felt like almost like you're breaking up with them, but
Mhm,
really it's, where you're kind of how much you can trust them with your heart or with hard things, or maybe you don't have those shared experiences anymore and
mhm,
you kinda at a disconnect. But you might have people who are on those outer rings and they're happy to be on the outer rings.
mhm,
Maybe they're my margarita crew, or maybe they're my,
mhm,
read a book thing, or maybe
mhm.
hang out with them at the pool, or, we go to
Yeah,
restaurants together. And it doesn't mean I don't like them and that I don't enjoy
exactly.
having time with them, but it just means that they might not be the people that I go to,
Mhm,
on a Saturday
exactly.
night when I'm going, "My life was terrible this weekend."
Exactly, and I think yeah, and you're right. I think as we especially as we get older, like, that group that gets smaller and very small and very small. Like, mine is, like, super small now, which I'm, like, totally fine with because it's like there's fewer people to talk to and tell things, which is great, and then you can really just talk to the people. I have found, like, that, that inner ring, my mom is definitely my parents are sitting in that inner ring now.
Oh, wow.
Whereas
Isn't that
once
crazy?
upon a time, they were just like, "Oh, they were your yeah, they're my parents." But now I've found, like, since my parents retired and we have more time to talk, like, all the time, like, I'm like, "Oh, my parents are my friends now." Like,
Yeah.
they're not just my parents, but they're also my friends, and I always tell my husband that he goes like, he's like, "Well, I'm not friends with my parents."
That's okay.
And that's like, "That's totally fine." I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool, good. It works for you." But with mine, I'm like, we're like buddies now." And I said, and I love that for us because for so long they were just the parents.
Yeah.
And now like they're not the parents. And I really love that they're in the circle. And that just makes it because then, you just like you got the circle is like super small. It's like I got like a couple of girlfriends that are in the circle and then I've got the parents and the husband in the circle and the
Yeah.
sibling.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then as it just keeps going out, you might have people you talk to,
Yeah,
about the problem or whatever,
yeah.
have these different levels of access, and I tell you, making new friends as well, especially as a 50-year-old woman, but, as an adult, I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard, it's scary.
It is.
It's
Yeah.
almost like you're dating. You're like, "Circle yes or no, do you wanna be my friends?" Yeah, I feel very vulnerable with that, and so
Yeah.
but, you
Yeah.
just have to be intentional about it.
Yeah, and I think it's a wonderful thing. I say all that, and I will say this, that it is a wonderful thing when you still are able to find people that you can connect to, even at an older age. Because, like, I've sort of thought, like, I'm in my 40s, like, I'm not gonna be finding like a bunch of new friends at this stage. But like, I have met some really solid people over the last couple of years that they do have a place. And then
Yeah,
we connect, and like you said, it's like but I think it takes a very, a strong level of being mature, like being mature and, like you mentioned, being authentic and intentional. Because like,
yeah,
if you're mature about something, like, people don't get upset when you can't hang out. Like,
yeah,
there's just a, like, "Well, let's get together when we can." There's not a, like, "I don't know, you don't have time for me." Like, I'm like, "No, that was, like, in the 20s." Like, those were
right.
the conversations in the 20s. In the 40s, it's just like, yeah, we all know people work, they have lives, some people have kids, and it's like and people are entrepreneurs, all those things come into play, and you have to figure out and you only get so many hours in a day, and of course, if most times you're trying to do things on the weekend, well, we all know the weekends are like, you blink your eyes and they're gone.
Oh my gosh, it's true.
So, yes, I definitely love, you sharing that aspect of community because I think, like, it's so important and it not only it applies to, like, all areas of our life. So, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah,
Alright, so we're gonna talk, more about the trips in a little bit, but I do wanna talk about the fact that you are an entrepreneur. And we have a lot of people here who listen to the show who are entrepreneurs or they're workingpreneurs. So, can you talk about some of the lessons that you've learned as a female entrepreneur? And how have you like, what challenges have you faced and like, how have you overcome those things?
sure. I think, one of my biggest challenges is sometimes I think especially as women, but, I hate to categorize it that way, but I feel like sometimes we doubt ourselves. Like,
Mhm.
we come up with, like, this great idea, and then we just kinda hold back and go, "I don't know. What should I
Mhm.
do?" And so we
Yeah.
kinda wanna part of it's because we're collaborative a lot of times, but I think
Mhm.
we can second guess ourselves. So, I'd say, be confident, and when you walk in a room, be confident. Be confident that you are capable, you're an entrepreneur, all that, and it's okay to do something well. I think a lot of times we kinda downplay, we kind of this downplay vibe where we're like, "Oh, well, it wasn't that big of a deal." And
Mhm.
so and it's not you don't wanna be like a just kind of a annoying self-promoter going, "Oh, I'm so awesome." But you can say, but you can be strong in that,
Mhm.
in the I do this really well. I am
Right.
really good at my job. This is
Mhm.
my superpower. This is my secret sauce. And I think we need to own that because a lot of times we downplay it because we feel like we're putting ourselves above other people. And that's not the truth. And then, oh, and the last thing I'll say with that is be careful who you give your power to. And when I
Mhm.
say your power, I mean like the power to wreck your day, the power to wreck your peace, to wreck your schedule. And wrecking your schedule is like dropping everything to do something. And I'm a very helpful person. I love my superpower. I'm a star aligner, man. I can get stuff done, but
Mhm.
sometimes I wreck my schedule for something that maybe I should have just said, let's wait and see. And the power to get in your head. Somebody can say
Mhm.
something and I'm rehashing it 25 times in the next 2 hours, and that's all I can think about. And so we're giving that person the power to, you know, take away
Mhm.
our focus. And
Mhm.
so it's just be careful, be intentional with that. It's like, okay, do I need to engage with that? Or can I just set that aside for a little bit and I'll pick it back up and think about it?
Mhm.
Um, so I think those are the things as a female entrepreneur that really kinda get in our way, and we start bumping up against that.
Mhm.
And then some of the obstacles, I faced, in being an entrepreneur, I remember I was going through a divorce and going, can I still have my company? Because it's just me. That's it.
Mhm.
I have no plan B. I have nobody else's salary to fall on. I mean, if it doesn't work, I'm headed to, Starbucks or somewhere. It's like, like this is me. And it's really scary when you have like a tough month financially as an entrepreneur. And then you're like, you kind of had that moment
Mhm.
to where you're like, okay, I'm in it. I'm in it to win it. I'm gonna do it. But
Mhm.
it's scary.
Yeah.
And I think that gets really intimidating.
Mhm.
And then you just have to be super again, I keep saying that we're intentional, but even with your finances of, okay, we're gonna create this emergency fund for my company. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
it's like I know every month I've got payroll of this. That has to be in there, and I
Mhm.
have to have some extra in there. I have to have a fund for if I make a mistake, because as an entrepreneur, if I make a mistake, it's coming out of my pocket.
Mhm. Yeah.
There's nobody else is gonna pay for it, I'm paying
Mhm.
for it. So,
Mhm.
those are some of my things.
Yeah. Well, how do you combat, like, negative self-talk?
Oh, golly, I'm the queen of that tape that goes in my head. So, I just have to remind myself because sometimes I have to remind myself the questions I need to ask. It's like, "Okay, is this true?
Mm.
Is
Mhm.
this true about me? And do I care about this person? Yes, I care about this situation. So does my response, the fact that I can't help them, does that mean that I'm a bad person? No, it does not mean I'm a bad
Mhm.
person.
Mhm.
Um, or if I fail. And so to me, it's so hard because man, I want to be perfect, man. I want to be
Mhm.
100% all the time. And I
Mhm.
have to remind myself to give myself buckets of grace, just like if it
Yeah.
was my bestie next to me. I'd be like, "Girl, just cut yourself some slack." And
Mhm.
I have to tell myself, "You know what? You, Becky Lukovic, are not perfect. So that means
Mhm.
sometimes you're gonna miss the mark."
Right.
And it's hard, but that's I just have to stop it because if I
Mhm.
don't, it's just gonna keep going on and going, and I'm gonna be rehearsing disaster or just keeping it on
Mhm.
replay.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I love that because like you said, I mean, you just be, like, overthinking something or just never, like, letting it go, but I love that because I think throughout the day, there can be moments where, your mind tells you but I love that you said, like, you ask yourself those questions, like, "Is this true about me?"
Yeah.
And I think that's really solid.
Yeah, and
So
for me, I
oh,
was gonna say,
yeah, go ahead.
for me with my clients or my colleagues,
Mhm,
at one point, I had to give myself permission to be vulnerable with them and go, "You know what? I dropped the ball. You know
mm,
what? I am sorry. I messed up here, and I'm gonna fix it." But
mhm,
and then I'm not being an imposter, like, pretending like, "Oh,
mhm,
I didn't drop the ball. I didn't forget that thing. I didn't do the wrong
mhm,
thing." So it to me,
mhm,
giving
mhm,
myself permission to
mhm,
verbally say that to my people, I mean,
mhm.
it was a game changer for me.
Oh, yeah, I love that. I think that's, I mean, it's really important because people then see you as especially, like, if you are the manager of people, they see that you're just, like them. Right?
Yeah.
Because I know sometimes people will put the manager, like, up on this pedestal where it's like, well, they're not gonna make mistakes. And I think, like, people do appreciate when you come to the table and just say, like, "You know what? My bad. I made the mistake,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna fix it." So, yeah, I think that's totally, cool. So, what about let's talk about mentorship and collaboration. You mentioned earlier about, like, collaborating, what role does that play for you? So let's either talk about mentorship because I think it's super important. I think as an entrepreneur, now and for you as long as you've been in business, do you still reach out to mentors?
Oh, for me, yes, for sure, and I think there's this, um, kind of misguided idea that a mentor is always older than you as well, so or been
Mhm,
in the business longer than you, and so yes, I have and they happen to be women, but there's a few men, but there are
mhm,
people who I've seen how they've grown their business and, we started in co as
mhm,
colleagues, and now they're a little bit more it's been a little bit of a shift, and they're a little bit more of a mentor to me because I
mhm,
aspire to be what they are. What they've built, I'm like, "Ooh, I
mhm,
wanna do that." So, I'll reach out to them and say, "Hey, what would you do here? Hey, I'm about to send this email. Can you look at it? Because woof." Or, "What would you do in this situation?"
mhm,
And I think that's important. It's important to have even when you've
mhm,
been in an industry for a long time. It's important to
mhm,
have those people who are help who help guide you. And sometimes they're colleagues and it's mutual.
mhm,
I may be mentoring them in some areas and they are mentoring me in some areas. And so it's not just that hierarchical um
right, yeah,
flow. Sometimes it's in areas. And I feel like also I have a not a duty, but kind of a responsibility to help people who are newer in the industry
mhm,
to,
mhm,
and there's official mentoring and then there's unofficial mentoring. But where, I had so many people help me when I
mhm,
got in the industry, and they
mhm,
invested in me, and they gave me ideas, and they helped me. And so I think, yeah, you're kinda paying it backwards. You're saying, "Somebody helped
mhm,
me, so I'm gonna help you." Uh,
mhm,
yeah, it's so important. It helps you get out of your kinda your hustle grind too, because you're
mhm.
helping other people.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's super important to sort of reach back and pull other people up. But one thing I like that you really said is that, mentors, they don't have to be older than you or have more experience than you, because I truly feel like you can learn from anyone. And whether they're younger, older, whatever. I mean, as long as like what they're saying feels of value, then I'm always open to like getting those give me those insights. And so I think that's really important. But I do like that you talk about the importance of it because I feel like a lot of times so I'll use it with a lot of with entrepreneurship, right? A lot of times that mentorship, whatever, can look like coaching, right? It can look like having someone who's a business coach or whatever type of a coach to help you grow. And I think a lot of times people don't really understand the importance of it. They're just like, "Oh yeah, I can do it," and it's like, no, you got to have somebody that who's holding you accountable.
Yes. And it's scary because you're vulnerable. And,
Yeah.
I would say, a coach is someone who, you're paying to, look at your business and evaluate. And a lot of times mentors can be a colleague or, someone in your industry or even a different industry, but it's a little bit different in that you're so vulnerable because you're getting to know them as a person because it's a very
Mhm.
intentional mentoring type thing. And so, I mean, I'm in a mastermind group right now, and a lot of times it's scary because we're
Mhm.
talking. We're like, okay, so what's your team structure like? What are issues that you're having? And you want to, part of you wants to be very guarded and protect yourself because you want your colleagues to think highly of you,
Mhm.
and part of you is like, "I need new solutions," and
Right.
so here's my budget for sometimes they'll say, ask everybody, "Oh, what's your travel budget?" Everybody's like, "Oh, don't judge me, don't judge me, don't judge me." And so but because it's scary that as
Mhm.
entrepreneurs, we have to be vulnerable in
Mhm.
safe spaces and
Yes.
be willing to have people go, "Hmm, have you thought about doing this instead?" It's
Right.
scary.
Yeah. And that's you said the key word in safe spaces. So yeah,
Yes.
it's about definitely finding those spaces that feel like they'll be helpful to you and not, hurtful. And
Yes.
and like you mentioned, yeah, and it is like being able to sort of be vulnerable and say like cuz everybody's been at one of the stages, like everybody's gone through what you're going through at one point. And so, isn't it great to have them say like, "Well, this is how I, like, solved it."
Yes.
So,
Uh,
don't work harder, work smarter, as I always say.
right.
Awesome. Alright, so, Becky, why don't you tell us, the audience listening, about, how you can work with them, to plan a unique and custom travel itinerary?
Sure. So, again, I'm in the luxury space. I do a lot of custom designed itineraries for people. So if you want to go gorilla trekking in Uganda, I'm your girl. Or if you want to go, stay at a wine estate in Tuscany or up in Piemonte in Italy, have a villa and a private chef and, all those things. I'm definitely your girl. So you can find me on Instagram. You can find me My Bella Travel. You can find me on Facebook, same My Bella Travel. My website is mybellatravel.com. And then you can, contact me through my website as well. Yeah. So, and basically we just, when people reach out to me and they have an idea, we have a brainstorming session, and it's like, "What's your I wanna know what people's vision is."
Mhm,
Before we go into, "I wanna see this, this, this. I wanna do this. Here's my budget." To me, I wanna cast vision first. It's like, "Why
mhm,
do you wanna go? What do you
mhm,
wanna do there?" Like, not do as in, like, what things you wanna check off your box, but,
mhm,
like, what draws you to
mhm,
Ireland? What's drawing you there? Because maybe it's landscapes, maybe you just wanna go pub hopping, maybe, and if I'm jumping out there and planning landscapes and you just wanted to go to a few pubs and listen to some music and,
mhm.
we're gonna have a mismatch there. So, we cast vision, and then decide we wanna work together, and then we move forward in a process.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah, I like that because 'cause you're just helping people to create experiences for themselves. So it's yeah, I love that. Okay, awesome. Alright, we're gonna go into 3 things with Becky. I'm gonna ask you 3 questions that helps our audience get to know you a little bit better. Start the questions with the two-parter. It's how do you start and end the day?
Okay, perfect. Starting's easier, ending's a little
Mm.
but, starting. So, when I get up, I wanna get out in nature, so I go on a walk/run. How much I do of either just depends on my day and all that, but I usually go about the same amount, but I listen to something, that's inspiring for me. It's my time. I mean, I'm a God girl, so, I'm listening to stuff that's just kinda getting my mind set, and then, I come back, and the second thing that's important to me is I wanna sit down. I wanna take a minute, I wanna sit down with a cup of tea, and then just kinda exhale before I hit the ground running, and then I read to grow. And, I'm reading something to grow.
Mhm.
And just to, because me, mornings is my time. It's when I'm the
Mhm.
most productive, but I gotta take that first little bit to just get my mind right. And
Mhm.
I found when I don't do those things, like if
Mhm.
if my schedule's off, if I'm traveling or whatever, and I'm not doing those things, a few days into it, I'm feeling a little discombobulated. My
Mhm.
anxiety's coming up, all that. I'm like, "Becky, just go for a run, man. Just sit down and have a cup of tea, just
Mhm.
take a beat. Just give yourself
Mhm.
30 minutes." So,
Yes.
morning. So, and then in the evening is a little harder, because usually I'm not as set with my evening. That's part of my work journey right now, but, usually it involves a glass of wine somewhere.
Mhm.
Maybe some
Nice.
Netflix, maybe some reading, maybe,
Mhm.
you know, some dinner at some point, but, I honestly, transparently, my end of the day routine is not awesome.
Hey, it's whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Okay, it's question 2. What's a goal or intention you've set for yourself this year?
So, I'm a big word of the year girl.
Okay.
So, last year, my word was connect.
Mhm.
This year, my word was connect adjacent. So this year, my word was roots. And
Okay.
so, I recently moved to Buckhead from north part of Atlanta, and
Mhm.
I've been go, 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 traveling a lot and all that, and it's like, "Girl, you need some roots. You need some roots in the city
Mhm.
where you live." And
Mhm.
so that's been my word, is being, again, intentional with my relationships and
Mhm.
reaching out to people and say, "Hey, let's get together," instead of just working all the time. So,
Mhm.
roots is my intention for the year.
Nice. All right, and the last question, where are you currently finding inspiration?
So, right now, my inspiration, is in some books that I'm reading.
Mhm.
So, I'm really digging Catherine Wolfe, her podcast, and her TikTok, excuse me, just a sec. And, all her socials, but, she wrote this book, Treasures in the Dark. Holy moly, that woman just inspires me, with her story. And then, Brene Brown, I just read Atlas of the Heart. That was so good for me. And then there was this other book called Who Not How, and it's
Mhm.
talking about getting the right people in
Mhm.
instead of the right tasks. It's like, find the
Mm.
people
Mhm.
first. And
Mhm.
so it's about the who and not the how. So to me, those things have been really inspiring the heck out of me recently.
Oh, I love that. All right. So I know I said that was the last one. That was the last one of that, but I do have one final question for you. I want to say, first of all, thank you so much, Becky, for coming and spending time with us. But I'd like for you to leave the audience with 3 things you'd like them to take away from this conversation today.
Okay. So thing number one to remind, be aware of who you give your power to. And again, that's the power to wreck your day. Some people have the power to wreck my day, to wreck my schedule. My kids, I mean, I will stop everything and be there if it's emergency, right? But
Mhm.
your day, your emotions, your all that. So be aware of who you give your power to. Create community continually. It's like community is like marketing. Marketing as an entrepreneur, you're always marketing. You should
Mhm.
always be looking to create community, to add
Mhm.
to your community. They may still be the outer circle, but that's okay.
Mhm.
And then the last thing is, challenges are seasons. It's easy to be in a challenge and think this is going to be it forever, but it's a season, and eventually you're gonna move out into something else. And
Mhm.
so just keep in mind when you're going through a challenge, it's like, don't get so bogged down that you miss that speck of light that you're like, "Okay, this is a season. We have to it's not what I wanted to do, but we're gonna do XYZ for this season, and then next season, we're on to something else."
Love that. Amen to that because, yep, you can be in those seasons, they feel like you're like, "God, when?"
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, well, Becky, thank you so much again. You can always come back here and chat with us in the future.
Love that.
Awesome. All right. A big thank you to Becky for spending time with us today. Well, if you were out there and you were watching or listening to this episode and you were thinking, I'm ready to travel, I'm ready for an experience, because that is what she is helping people to put together is experiences. Definitely made me want to think about like, where might I want to go? All right, if you want to learn more, you want to learn how to plan that travel with Becky, make sure you check out the links in the show notes. If you'd like to learn more about Glow Up Girl, you can visit our site at glowupgirl.com. Also, make sure you sign up for our email newsletter. If you're new to this community, I want to say welcome. I hope you'll come back. Also, if you've been a member, I want to continue to say thank you so much for the support. I really, really greatly appreciate all of you and the time that you take to pop in and listen to the episodes or watch them weekly. All right, if you haven't been on YouTube, speaking of watching, you can check us out. We are at Glow Up Girl. Go there, subscribe, like, comment, do all the things. If you're on a platform where you can rate or review us, I would love that as well. It's so awesome to read the reviews. And also, if you're sharing any of our social content, make sure you tag us. And also make sure you share this episode. If you have a friend who you think would benefit, anybody in your life, make sure you share it. Lastly, if you have somebody that you think I should be interviewing or ideas, make sure you reach out to hello@glowupgirl.com. We'll be planning soon for January episodes of 2026. Man, we got there fast, right? But we will be there soon. So make sure you reach out. All right. So again, that is everything for today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. I want to say thank you to Becky again, and I will see you all next week. So until then, stay focused, fab, and glow up. Take care.